Well, this is round 3. I'm pretty fucking heated. I think I was too savage in the other 2 recordings, so did the hourglass. For anybody that doesn't know how I use this to transmute, essentially, flip it, hold your hand onto it, envision the energy flowing out of your body, in with the sand, to the bottom of the hourglass. It's not within you anymore by the time the sand runs out. That's how I do it. It's just a clean way to purge. So I did that twice. Still feel kind of mad though. The Twin Flame, Ten of Wands, and the King of Pentacles. Justice. The Twin Flame's all fucked up right now, emotionally, because I'm moving on. And I think, even though in his mind it was always too late for us, he never, because of his own mental prison, it was never an option, you know? In his mind, it was always too late. There was never a chance. Ace of Wands. And it reminds me of the false twin, because word on the street was, from people that the false twin talked to, the reason he refused to communicate with me was because there was nothing to talk about, which is the opposite of the truth. And the Twin Flame chose to block me, Tower, and watch me from a fake account, instead of just confronting his emotions head on. He chose devil energy. He chose somebody else. And then he felt trapped with them and refused to leave, bound with willing restriction. Maybe because it made his life more comfortable. Maybe it was blackmail. Who knows? What we do know is that he chose somebody else, and then chose to stand on it and watch from the sidelines. And he grew the entire time he watched us. 7 of Cups and the 4 of Cups. And he sat in regret and indecision. But he never did take that action forward. He never did choose himself. He chose to be comfortable. He chose to be safe. Ace of Swords. He chose to lie to himself, to not see the truth, to deny his intuition, to deny mine. He chose to hear my words and ignore them. And I must have put, 6 months worth of messages that were just for him. 4 of Pentacles. And now that they're not for him anymore, he pops back in and takes them for himself. He chooses to have them resonate for him. Queen of Cups. And don't get me wrong, I love him unconditionally. I'll always hold space for him, and I'll always want him in my life. He's my twin flame. He's me. And he's made mistakes. He's still growing. He's still changing. And I will always hold that space for him and that compassion. But it is not fair for him to waltz back in energetically with all of these feelings and push them onto me. Because I dealt with this loss 6 months ago. Page of Pentacles. I made mistakes, and I didn't recognize his small offers, because after everything he put me through, it didn't feel like enough. Knight of Cups. And as difficult as it was for him to give me the small offers, I didn't ask for much at all. I just wanted a little bit of time, a little bit of attention, a little bit of communication. And back then I would have accepted anything. Breadcrumbs would have been enough. But the more this went on, the more I grew. Sun. I thought that we would chase the sun together, and instead I found the sun within myself. I learned that I didn't need him, that I could be happy alone or with somebody else. Five of Cups, and I learned to let go of that grief that he is now feeling. And a lot of people out there can say like it's karmic justice for him to watch him move on. Six of Cups. But this pain that I'm feeling, it's not mine. You know, the hardest thing I've ever had to deal with was losing people. My dad died when I was 11 years old after we had a fight. I wished he was dead. Seven of Wands. 2 days later he was. And I learned in that moment that you cannot take your words back. Yeah, I didn't even say it out loud, but you cannot take those thoughts back. And I carried that guilt around with me my entire life. And it wasn't until adulthood that I realized it was for a greater purpose, and that his death was a pivotal part of my growth, even in the despair, and that it was all meant to happen the way that it did. The world. And I had to have those same realizations with him, my twin flame. But the only thing worse than somebody dying on you and leaving you alone is when they choose that for you and don't even have the respect to tell you why. Page of Cups. To leave you wondering, stuck. Not even sure if they intended that kind of harm. Because there's a good part of me that thinks he did it on purpose. That his entire goal was to humble me. Six of Wands. Because he thought I was in my ego. Maybe I was. Maybe we both were. He's been watching, trying to start a new beginning. Ace of Pentacles, Knight of Wands, feeling stuck with whoever he chose over us. Feeling shut out by our boundaries. Feeling abandoned. Because let's be real, even now, Judgment, he still thinks it's all about him. He didn't acknowledge his emotions because it was easier for him. He chose to ignore our pain, my pain. Seven of Wands and Temperance. Because he didn't want to face what he'd done. He didn't want to admit that he was wrong about me. Or that I'd grown out of the person that he thought I was. Nine of Pentacles. You know what? I was codependent, manipulative, overly strategic, cutthroat. I kept the best parts of those. The Hermit. But I grew into myself because of what he did. It was all meant to be the way it was, the Star. But the truth is that he chose to leave me blocked and to ignore me up until the day I left. And now he's got all these feelings. Seven of Pentacles. Now that I'm trying to be happy without him, finally open to the idea of being happy without him, he wants to come in with this Five of Swords energy and ruin it. And I'm angry because I've worked so hard. Six of Swords and the Eight of Wands to move on